Ever feel like, you're always chasing happiness,
Uh-huh.
like always searching for that next big thing that'll make life, more fulfilling?
Yeah.
Well, today's deep dive, it might have the answer. We're going to explore this Buddhist idea, the 7 factors of enlightenment.
Okay.
But, and here's the thing, not as some abstract philosophy, okay?
Right.
But as a practical guide to, like, really understanding your own mind and unlocking, hopefully, a deeper sense of peace.
Okay. I like that.
And, we've got an awesome guide for this. We're going to be learning from the writings of Piyadasi Thera. Have you heard of him?
Oh, yeah. Definitely familiar with Piyadasi Thera. His writing is really interesting because he really emphasizes that enlightenment, this thing that everybody's kind of searching for. It's not some far-off thing.
Right.
He says it's possible to achieve in this lifetime.
This lifetime.
It's not about, going to a mountaintop and becoming this mystical being.
Right.
It's really about cultivating these qualities within yourself, like right now.
It's like we're ditching this vague idea of happiness.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
For like a real set of tools.
Exactly.
So let's get right to it.
Let's do it.
What are these 7 factors that can supposedly help us on the way, pave the way?
So imagine a house.
Okay.
A really grand house. And the peak of that house, that represents enlightenment, or nibbana, as it's known in Buddhism.
Okay.
And each of these 7 factors, they're kind of like the beams that hold that peak up.
Oh, wow.
So we have mindfulness, naturally.
Of course.
Then investigation of the Dhamma, energy, rapture, calm, concentration, and lastly, equanimity.
7. Okay. I'm already feeling like this is a journey, not just like a quick fix,
Right. And just like a good hike, the rewards reveal themselves along the way, not just at the summit.
Right.
Each of these, when we cultivate it within ourselves, brings about its own, shift in perspective.
Okay. So I'm hearing journey, not a sprint.
Yes.
So let's break down the first leg of this journey.
Yeah.
You can't build a house without a good, solid foundation, right? So tell me about mindfulness. What does Piyadasi Thera have to say about, this important first step?
He calls it completely essential, and I think rightly so. Sati, as it's known in Pali, is really about paying attention, being present in this moment, aware of your thoughts, your feelings, your sensations, without, and this is key, without judgment.
Without judgment.
Yeah, it's just observing. Think of it as kind of a gentle observation of everything going on inside and outside of yourself.
Sounds easy enough, I guess. But anyone who's tried meditation knows our minds, they don't always want to be still. They want to, be active and think about a million things at once. How does Piyadasi Thera say we can kind of get past that?
So he uses this really great comparison. He compares the untrained mind to a fish out of water, just like flopping around.
Right.
And mindfulness isn't about forcing stillness. It's about gently guiding that fish back into the water.
Back to where it's supposed to be.
Exactly. Back to that calm, that clearness, that receptiveness.
Guiding, not gripping. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more than just a concept, right? This is rooted in, like, the core of Buddhism.
Absolutely. I mean, think about the Buddha's final words.
Okay.
Transient are all component things. Work out your deliverance with heedfulness.
With heedfulness.
That's mindfulness.
Wow.
It's it's how the entire path unfolds.
Okay, so no pressure, but mindfulness is basically, it's like the master key. It unlocks everything else.
Yeah.
No wonder it's the foundation of this whole house we're building.
You got it. And what makes it so powerful is how accessible it is. It's not about, running away from the world. It's about, like, really truly waking up to it.
And that brings us to the second factor, the second beam in our house. Oh. This one, I'm really curious about investigation of the Dhamma. So this isn't about just blindly following. This is about really engaging with the teachings, right?
Yes. Dhammavicaya, that's what's called.
Dhammavicaya.
And it means, cultivating a mind that investigates.
Sure.
Piyadasi Thera, he actually tells this story about the Buddha with a new follower, a guy named Upali.
Okay.
And the Buddha tells Upali, he encourages him to investigate the teachings, to really look at them before committing.
I love that. Like, you really have to understand, even in, a spiritual context, it's not just faith, it's really understanding.
Absolutely. And Buddhism encourages this, right? It encourages us to question things, to look at things for ourselves. And Piyadasi Thera, he says this investigation, it goes, beyond just the scriptures.
Beyond the scripture.
It's about looking at your own mind, your own body, looking at your experiences, and in that way, understanding, the nature of reality.
It's almost like the Buddha is saying, here's a map, but don't be afraid to go off the path a little bit.
Yes.
You have permission to discover the truth on your own.
And that's where, the real magic happens.
Right.
Because we're combining mindfulness, right, seeing clearly, with active investigation.
Right.
And in that, we can peel back these layers and see the world maybe for the first time,
It's like we're trading our old blurry lenses for a brand new prescription.
Yes.
It's harder to see clearly. But something tells me we're going to need some energy for the rest of this.
Oh, you're definitely going to need some energy.
I was going to say.
That's where our next factor comes in, energy. Virya in Pali. This is where we put it all into practice, the rubber meets the road, all that.
Okay, energy. I got to be honest. When I hear energy, I think to-do lists, another cup of coffee.
Right.
Not exactly, inner peace.
Not quite. It's not about, just being super busy all the time. It's about a kind of enthusiasm, for learning about yourself, or being on this path. Kidasi Thera, he calls it a joyful striving.
Joyful striving. I kind of like that.
Yeah. Like a mindful marathon,
Okay, mindful marathon. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So not just pushing, but like directed effort.
Exactly.
So how do we tap into that virya?
Well, Kidasi Thera, he's very clear about this. He says that, no one can just give you enlightenment. You have to cultivate it from within. And that can sound like a lot, right?
Yeah.
But he says it's actually really empowering.
Empowering how? It still seems like, work.
Because it means you have the power. You're not just being controlled by things happening around you. You can actually change things. And that shift, from being dependent to being self-reliant, that's powerful.
Okay. I think I'm starting to see how virya fits into this whole thing.
Yeah.
We're using that mindfulness,
Yeah.
right? That clear seeing and the investigation to kind of fuel ourselves.
Yeah.
But, even with a marathon, there are tough moments, right?
Well, of course.
You get tired. So how do we deal with that?
Yeah.
The dips in energy.
Well, that's where the practice comes in. Virya, it's not like this on or off switch. It's not like you just have it or you don't. It's something that you're always working at.
Oh, okay.
Especially, he says, when it's hard.
Right.
Kidasi Thera says, even when you don't feel like it, you gotta show up, you gotta keep going. Because ultimately, where you want to go.
It's like building that muscle, the resilience muscle.
Yes.
You keep going even when it's not exciting anymore.
Exactly. And, it's not just about working harder. It's about knowing when to rest, too.
Right.
You need to find that balance if you want to stay on the path.
We're learning to pace ourselves.
Yeah.
And fuel ourselves, not with coffee, but with like real intention.
Intention, yeah.
And an understanding of why we're doing this.
I like that.
Okay, so speaking of fuel, the next factor makes me think of something much more enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
Rapture. Is that too good to be true?
Well, it might not be, a party.
Okay.
But Buddhist rapture, or Piti, it is a really, joyful way of being.
Okay, now you've got me interested. How is this Piti it's different from just regular happiness? I mean, I like a good joke.
Of course.
But this sounds different.
It's deeper,
Right.
More like all-around joy. It comes from really understanding how things actually are. See, normal happiness, that's it comes and goes.
Right.
It depends on what's happening around you. But Piti, it comes from inside.
Oh, wow.
So it doesn't matter what's going on externally.
So it's not about getting what you want or avoiding bad stuff. It's about finding that joy inside yourself, if that's even possible.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
It's very powerful. And Kidasi Thera, he says something really important about this. He says, we think happiness comes from getting things or holding on to things.
Right. We want things to stay the same.
Yeah. But actually, it comes from letting go. Letting go. Realizing that everything changes and finding a kind of freedom in that.
Huh. It's like if you love something, set it free.
There you go.
You find the most joy when you're not trying to control everything.
Exactly. And that willingness to accept things, to let go, that leads us right into the next factor, calm, or Passaddhi.
After all that, marathon running and investigating, calm sounds pretty nice.
Right.
So tell me about calm.
It's that natural tranquility you feel when you start to let go of your desires, your aversions, all that. When you can see things clearly without judging, that's when this calmness can come in.
So it's not about forcing your mind to be quiet. It's more about like creating the right conditions for that peace to just kind of arise naturally.
You got it. Thera, he has this, it's such a good image. He says this calmness, it's like when you've been traveling for a long time, you're tired, it's hot, and then you find like a perfect shady spot under a tree, and you can just rest.
Okay, yeah. Just that image, I feel calmer already. But seriously, to have that kind of peace in the middle of, everyday life,
Right.
that's got to take some serious work.
It does. And for that, we've got our next factor. Concentration, Samadhi.
Okay, concentration sounds a little more active, like less Zen garden and more laser focus.
Right.
How does that fit in with this whole being calm thing?
Think of it like this. Concentration is how you get from that calmness to real insight.
Oh.
It's the ability to focus your mind, not by forcing it, but by kind of gently guiding your attention where you want it to go.
Where you want it to go.
Yeah, whether that's like your breath or a mantra or even just like what's happening right now.
So we're taking all that space. We cultivated the mindfulness, the investigation, even the joy, the calm, and we're like focusing it.
Yes.
Like a beam of light.
I love that image. With Samadhi, we're training that spotlight on our experience. We're seeing the truth more and more clearly.
We're not just noticing things anymore.
Yeah.
We're really focusing. But, life happens. Even if you're super focused and calm, there's going to be stuff that comes up, right?
Yeah, always, always. Which is why we need that last factor, that peak of the house we were talking about. Equanimity, or Upekkha.
Equanimity.
Yeah.
It sounds like, I don't know, the ultimate peace of mind. Like nothing can shake you. Is that even real?
Not quite like that. It's not about, turning into some kind of unfeeling robot.
Okay.
It's about finding a kind of inner strength, something that helps you get through those tough times,
Okay.
Imagine like a pond.
Okay.
On the surface, the water, it might be moving all over, ripples, waves, all that.
Right.
But underneath, deep down, it's completely still.
Wow.
That's equanimity.
I love that. So we're not like shutting down our emotions. We're
Yeah.
just maybe changing how we relate to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
It's like we're riding those waves, but we've got this like inner stability now. We're not getting tossed around so much.
Exactly. Thera, he calls it this mental balance. This balanced way of seeing things.
Yep.
You're not controlled by, good stuff or bad stuff because you understand deep down that it's all temporary.
So you can feel joy, real joy, without like clinging to it.
Right.
And you can go through tough stuff without falling apart.
You're not as fazed by it all.
But how do you actually get to that point? That seems, I don't know, almost impossible.
It might seem that way, but remember what Thera said, all of these qualities, even equanimity, they come from practice.
Right.
It's not like you wake up one day and bam, you've got it.
Right.
It takes time. You got to cultivate it. And he reminds us, even the Buddha himself, he had to work at it.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better. Speaking of the Buddha, though, I keep thinking about that story.
Which one?
The one where the Buddha, he heals his disciple, Mahakassapa, just by reciting the 7 factors.
Oh, yeah.
It just seems kind of miraculous, but also like it's pointing to something real about the connection between our mind and our body.
Absolutely. And, it might seem like a fantastical story, but it gets at this very important idea in Buddhism.
Okay.
The mind is powerful. Like it can actually impact your physical health.
It's like mind over matter, right? But this isn't just some new age thing. This is ancient wisdom we're talking about.
Exactly. And, cultivating these 7 factors, it's not about like becoming enlightened one day.
Yeah.
It's about changing yourself now on a fundamental level.
Right now.
Yeah, minding and body. You're not just changing your thoughts, you're changing everything.
We're like rewiring the whole system.
Yeah.
So it's not just about feeling better. It's about like a deeper change.
Deeper, yeah. More resilient, more well-being.
Everywhere.
Exactly. And that's what I think is so amazing about Thera's work. He takes these really deep ideas and he makes them, relatable.
Usable.
Yes. For your life right now. Definitely a lot of aha moments for me today.
Yeah.
I hope our listeners are feeling it too.
Me too.
So as we wrap up here, is there like one big takeaway you want people to remember? Like one gem of wisdom?
I think if I had to pick one, it's that this idea of enlightenment, it's not some impossible dream.
It's a journey. And it's a journey that everyone can take.
Okay.
We all have that potential within us.
And these 7 factors, these are the tools?
The tools, exactly. The map, the compass, everything. And like with any journey, the most important thing is just to start.
Take that first step.
Yes.
So to everyone listening, if something anything resonated with you today, go explore it. See what happens. You might be surprised what you discover about yourself.